Hey guys, this is Matt with TimsHeadset here. Just wanted to start with a shout out to Kratom's Krates. They provide top-notch bulk wholesale Kratom powder while maintaining the highest level of quality and product safety. Kratom Krates is an American Kratom Association GMP standards program approved vendor. Kratom's Krates offers free shipping and satisfaction guaranteed. Visit our Facebook page or Twitter to find a link to the Kratom Krates webpage and let their fresh and clean smelling Kratom speak for itself.
Time to play the game!
All right, everybody, welcome to episode 2 of Tim's Headset, and all I have to say is that tonight, what a beautiful night it is in Cleveland, Matt. Why is that?
Because he gone!
Hallelujah. Freddie Kitchens is gone, baby! Yeah!
Praise you, baby Jesus!
Only Freddie Kitchens could take this roster and turn it into a 6-10 football team. You just lost today to the absolute worst team in football, the 1-14 Fighting Joe Burrow, Cincinnati Bengals.
Only Freddie Kitchens could take this roster and spin this gold in the straw. He went backwards, man.
This team won less games than last year after firing a coach midseason. A team that added Odell Beckham Jr., a team that had the second leading rusher in the NFL, an 1,100-yard receiver in Jarvis Landry.
The second leading rusher in the NFL. The second leading rusher in the NFL. Notice how we keep saying the second leading rusher in the NFL. Nick Chubb did not win the rushing title, if you haven't noticed by now. Derrick Henry ran for 211 today and passed Nick Chubb for the rushing title.
Nick Chubb got 28 carries in the last 2 games. Games you needed to win, you only found a way to get your best offensive weapon involved on an average of 14 carries a week. Not only did you ignore him in games you needed to win, you cost him a rushing title. The one shimmer of hope from the season, the one guy who kept his head down and put team above himself and worked week in and week out. Couldn't even get a rushing title because Freddie Kitchens can't run an offense.
He had 14 touches today. 14 touches. 13 carries, 41 yards, and 1 catch for 1 yard. That's inexcusable, dude. Inexcusable. And not to add insult to injury, your other world beater back, 3 carries, 4 yards. 3 catches for 32. So between the two of them, they combined for 76 yards.
45 rushing yards. 16 carries against the worst ranked rushing defense in the NFL.
The worst. They came in averaging over 156 given up on the ground. They were dead last against the run.
Instead, you ignore them and let Baker Mayfield complete, 44% of his passes.
12 for 27, 279, 3 touchdowns, 3 picks.
3 picks.
Finishes the season 23 touchdowns, 22 picks.
Unacceptable. Absolutely unacceptable. And then you see the video after the game of fans taunting him, and he's telling him to come down on the field and say it to his fucking face. Way to be locked in for the last game of the season, Baker. Attaboy. Talk about an undisciplined football team. Undisciplined. Absolutely unacceptable. Freddie Kitchens lost his team after the Denver game. Not one person came out in support of him. They were undisciplined all year. 18 penalties week 1. Players yelling at him on the sidelines. Baker Mayfield arguing with fans before the last game of the season. Absolutely unacceptable. This team underperformed to the utmost. I mean, absolutely unacceptable. How do you have 10 losses? You are picking in the top 10 of the draft. A team that is supposed to be in the playoffs next week has a top 10 draft pick. This team underachieved, completely unacceptable. And I'm glad that the Browns, John Dorsey, Jimmy Haslam, the entire front office wasted absolutely no time getting Freddie Kitchens out the door. And I hope they are interviewing coaches starting tonight. Can't waste any time with this. You got to get the best of the best. There's too much talent on this team to waste time and get one of the second-run candidates. You got to get one of the top guys available.
8 minutes ago, so just before the top of the 8 o'clock hour, Ian Rappaport tweets, just got off the phone with an emotional Freddie Kitchens. He believed he had organizational support. He did not. Do you think he should have? Do you think that they should be okay with having a losing record by 2 games? No. Why would they be okay with this? Why would they be okay with being a 6-10 football team? Why would they be okay with having almost a 1,500-yard rusher, an 1,100-yard receiver, and a 1,000-yard receiver on the same field? But had I told you that the 1,100-yard receiver was going to be Juice and not OBJ before the season, you probably would have smacked me.
That's not true. I heard some people saying that they thought Jarvis Landry would have a better season. I mean, coming off a year where he already had chemistry with Baker Mayfield. And, he's just keep his head down for the most part, hardworking, week in and week out he produces. Especially with the reports are true with him playing with a fractured vertebrae. It's pretty impressive for him to go out there week in and week out.
Hey, my hat's off to Juice, man. He played his ass off this year. I can't say anything bad about Jarvis Landry. Jarvis Landry, you earned your money.
Him and Nick Chubb, the two bright spots on an offense that should have been 1,000 times better than what it was.
I'm not going to say anything bad about Odell Beckham either, because if he played with the injury that they're saying he played with all year, to go out and still put up over 1,000 with, 5 touchdowns I think he ended with?
I think 4.
4. Okay, yeah, 4, because he had 2 in the last 2 games. I mean, yes, look, those aren't Odell Beckham numbers. No one will sit here and tell you those are Odell Beckham numbers. I can't sit here and bullshit you and say that I thought Odell Beckham was only going to have 4 touchdowns, but if he was playing with a core muscle injury like that, I mean, as Ohioans, we can equate that to what happened with Nick Bosa last year. He sat out how many games? 10?
Yeah, he sat out the rest of the season to protect.
And if Odell Beckham played with that injury, Odell Beckham, my hat's off to you, man. And I can't wait to see what you do next year when you come back healthy and you're playing for an offensive coordinator that supplements your talents.
Right. That's the biggest thing that they have to do in this coaching search, whether it's Ron Rivera, who's a defensive guy, who's a great leader, or if it's a Mike McCarthy who has experience on the offensive side of the ball, Josh McDaniels, Urban Meyer, any other names that have been linked to the job. You have to find a coach and a coaching staff that can come in here, work with Baker Mayfield, your number 1 overall pick, franchise quarterback, and tailor an offense to him, a la, Jim Harbaugh and company, what they did with Lamar Jackson in Baltimore. They took what works for Lamar Jackson, won the division, locked up the number 1 seed in the playoffs. Lamar will be the MVP of the league. You need somebody to come in here and do something like that for Baker Mayfield. And somebody who has the respect of the players and where the team won't quit on him. Now, in the first episode we did today before the game previewing it, I hate to say I told you so, but I told you so. As soon as one thing went wrong in that game, what did the Browns do? They laid down.
They folded.
They did. They folded, laid down.
Well, I mean, I didn't disagree with you, man. I told you that everything was setting up for that to be a big fat L they'd be taking back home. But I'm glad that they took that big fat L and left Freddie Kitchens in Cincinnati. Probably at Skyline Chili cleaning them out right now.
Hey, shout out Skyline Chili.
I think it's gross.
So do I.
But he would probably eat anything, so that's okay.
But you have to get somebody in here. We said it in the beginning, the first show. What do? They come out, they go right down the field, 3 plays, 46-yard touchdown pass to Damion Ratley. Ratley, shout out. I said you suck in the first episode. Congrats on your first career touchdown. That was a nice play. But next possession, Cincinnati goes right down the field, scores a touchdown. Game's tied at 7. Browns fold. It's 20-7 in a blink of an eye. Make Andy Dalton and Joe Mixon look like MVPs. They fold.
Hey, my biggest takeaway from this game is defensively, you made the Bengals look like a top 5 defense. The Bengals had 6 sacks on top of that, whatever the fuck you want to call that rushing performance.
3 interceptions.
3 picks. Terrible place. But the 6 sacks, I'll run down the list. It was 3 guys. It was Sam Hubbard. Shout out Ohio State and Cincinnati. Sam Hubbard, a sack and a half. Carlos Dunlap dominated 2.5 sacks. Could have had 2 more. Carl Lawson, 2 sacks. 6 sacks. 6 against the Bengals. Are you kidding me? No, you're not kidding me, because I already knew going into that game that Greg Robinson is awful. Chris Hubbard, you're gonna pay Chris Hubbard $7 million a season. My co-host here played left tackle in high school. I think he can go back and play.
I'd put up a better fight than Greg Robinson did on some of those plays. He was a turnstile sometimes. Couldn't even get his hand on a guy half the time. It's embarrassing. Absolutely embarrassing. This offensive line needs to be a priority in the offseason. Wyatt Teller, Eric O.G. Kudge.
Hey, The guards, you didn't hear their names most of the time. I mean, granted, they're not world beaters.
McCray looked awful today.
McCray is awful. I mean, he was an Arena Football League player 2 seasons ago, dude. We plucked him off the fucking street. The Packers cut him, and
You can tell.
here we go. And he starts a game against the Pats at left tackle, the most important position on the field other than quarterback.
Yeah, they need to address that offensive line. Guards, 2 tackles. You sit there and you build around Shredder and Batonio, and you go from there. The Browns, with their amazing 6-10 performance this year, solidified a top 10 draft pick. They will be picking at number 10 in the upcoming draft. You got to go offensive line, guard or tackle. You have to address that.
I say O-line, OT specifically, is your priority, but I'm telling you right now, man, I watched the game last night. If Isaiah Simmons is on the board, this defense is awful. Isaiah Simmons could start at safety for you. Isaiah Simmons could start at linebacker. Isaiah Simmons can play all 3 downs, 4 if they're going 4 downs. Like, I want Isaiah Simmons at 10. I think he's a defense changer. With him, Myles Garrett, Ogunjobi, Richardson, we don't know if we're going to have Schobert, but we get Simmons. Who cares? Mac Wilson, he had some glimpses of real talent this year. Granted, he looked like a 5th-round rookie at times. I mean, but when you're playing behind to end the year, you're playing behind Porter Gustin and Brian Cox Jr. Like, I mean, granted, you have to overcompensate, and he just wasn't ready for that. And we're good at the corner spots. I mean, Greedy had his lapses in judgment. He could have been better, but he's a rookie, man. And they do say that is the position with the hardest learning curve. So there were a lot of stats where Greedy locked up his guy. A lot of stats show that Greedy didn't allow his guy to make catches, and Greedy didn't get the impact plays that we want from, an outside corner that we're running out there that's going to see a lot of targets. But he also didn't get much help from guys like Demarius Randall, who, where the fuck were you during your contract year, dude?
He was sitting out practice because it was too cold outside, allegedly.
And that could be another Freddie situation.
Yeah.
Just like, shout out Rashard Higgins. I hope you go somewhere and you ball out, bro.
I hope the new coach comes in and realizes that Rashard Higgins can, play football.
I mean, I don't think he wants to be here anymore, dude. Would you want to be somewhere where you were in the doghouse the whole season for what, dude? You hurt your knee in the first game, and to be honest, the only reason you're in that first game is because you took him down the field on the first drive, dude. You were Baker's offense.
He was last year, too. He was a great security blanket. They had unbelievable chemistry last year. And then the guy just disappears this year, and we don't even know why. The alleged Freddie Kitchens doghouse. Well, what happened? We never got an answer on it. I mean, it's just some of the things that happened this year is absolutely inexplicable. And I'm happy as much as the fact that the Browns continue to be a revolving door at coach and in the front office for the most part. I have to give credit to the Haslams and John Dorsey and company for not wasting time, realizing that Freddie Kitchens' hire was a mistake, cleaning house with him. And please, get somebody in here who can be a leader of men. Somebody who can right the ship and get this team on track and be ready to go week 1 next year because the talent's here.
I think we're staring at Mike McCarthy in the face. I mean, this time last year, we're saying anybody but Mike McCarthy. Anybody but Mike McCarthy. Psh, give me Mike McCarthy.
Hey,
I'll take him.
If he can tailor an offense to Baker Mayfield, then, I'm in. I mean, you have so much invested in him and so much talent on offense that you got to do something that's going to be able to maximize your talent. If you can re-sign Kareem Hunt, you have Jarvis, you got Odell, you got Nick Chubb, Baker, so much talent on that side of the ball.
That side of the ball. Dude, I would really love to hang on to Steve Wilkes because I think he got a raw deal this year because of all the fucking injuries, dude. He got a lot of injuries thrown in his lap, and granted, their rush defense wasn't that great to begin with, but not only did they have the injuries, they had the suspension to their best player, their best overall player, and it wasn't even close. The guy finished the year with 10 sacks, and he didn't even play the last 6 games. The guy's still going to finish top 10 in the league in sacks, and he didn't even play for almost half the year.
No, Myles Garrett is absolutely unbelievable. You get another bookend pass rusher opposite of him to help relieve the pressure on both of those guys. And, you really got the beginning of something great at a linebacker, at a safety. And it would give Steve Wilkes or whoever comes in here as the defensive coordinator with the new head coach a lot to work with. There's a lot of talent there on both sides of the ball. There's a good young core of talent. Probably if you take the main players on this roster age-wise and compare them to the rest of the league, there's a group of young talent as good as any team in football. The new coach coming in has a lot to work with.
Look, and for as bad as Baker looked at times this year, man, I think Baker's fine. I really do. I think that this scheme was just not up to his strengths. I mean, quick passing game, dude. Quick play action. Play off the run. You were setting up the run with the pass for most of the year, and Nick Chubb still ran for almost 1,500 yards when they knew it was coming.
Right. Where's the two tight end set? Where's the play action? Everything they did last year that was successful to set up the big plays in the passing game, gone.
Dude, and yeah, like you said, where's the 12 personnel, dude? 12, two tight ends. Why are we not running what made us successful last year, the last 8 games of the season? Where, when we had the most success this year, not with the 12 when we ran it, when we had everyone. I mean, when Seals Jones was performing with Harris as the blocking tight end, Carlson. Yeah, but 21, dude. When we ran out Hunt with Chubb and we gave them the threat, the first game that Hunt came back, look at what they did. Look, the proof is there, dude.
No, there's too much talent to underperform the way they did. If you're going to have both guys out there on the field, then you got to keep them involved. Today, 16 carries combined. 16 carries combined for 45 yards rushing against the worst rushing defense in the NFL.
Inexcusable. And Freddie, look there. Look no further than right there. Look no further than right there, buddy. 16 carries for 2 backs that if you polled everyone else in the league would name them within the first 8 to 10 names.
Yeah, they're both top 10 running backs in the league, no doubt. Nick Chubb's top 3, and Kareem Hunt's easily top 10, top 8.
Hey, shout out John Dorsey, okay? Look, man, I get it. You wanted your guy as the coach. I'm not going to fault you for that, dude. I'm not going to fault you at all for that. But this hire, you need to knock this one out of the park, man. I don't know who it is. I'm not going to tell you how to do your job. You're the one that knows how to do that. But the Freddie experiment blew up in our faces. Look, I liked him at the beginning of the year. By the end of the year,
we all did.
By the end of the year, we're here, where I just couldn't. I wanted him to go. Honestly, after that LA game, I was starting to sour on him. It's 4th and 9, and you're running a fucking draw play, dude.
And then you get down to the goal line into the game,
and you're running pitch plays.
Right, and Nick Chubb's not even in the game. Game on the line, you're down by 1 score. Nick Chubb's not even in the game.
I wasn't even talking about that game specifically at this point. I'm talking about what game was it? Buffalo. It was Buffalo. They still somehow eked out a win against Buffalo.
Shout out Hollywood Higgins.
Hey, yeah, shout out Hollywood. Hey, Higgins, like I said, bro, go ball out wherever you go, dude. Go ball out because you deserve it.
Right. And speaking about John Dorsey real quick, obviously your first coaching hire was a swing and a miss. It was. And you looked in the mirror, you in the front office and the ownership, and said, hey, we messed up. You got to get this one right. As good as he is at evaluating talent, if you go 0 for 2 on coaching hires and this team is awful again this upcoming season, and, even if you give this guy another year, if they improve and they don't make the playoffs in the next 2 years, you're going to be looking at a new coach, you're going to be looking at a new quarterback, and you're going to be looking at a new general manager. Because if you swing and miss twice on coaching hires this early in your tenure, the pink slip will be coming. You got to get this one right. You have to find the guy that can change this stat. I saw this a little bit ago, and it really stuck out to me, and I was surprised. Since 2010, every team in the NFL has at least played on Wild Card Weekend except for 2 teams. The New England Patriots, because of their dominance, and your Cleveland Browns, the worst team of the decade, who couldn't even make the playoffs one time. The only team that couldn't make it to Wild Card Weekend once, your Cleveland Browns. You have to find the guy that can come in here, maximize the talent that's on that roster, and get this team back to the playoffs. This team has to be a playoff team next season. The talent's there. There is no excuse.
You can't lose to the team picking number 1 overall in the draft by double digits. How how do you lose to the team picking number 1 overall in the draft by 10 points? You know what that says? It says the team shut down on you.
We
They
called
gave
it.
up.
We called it. The writing's been on the wall for weeks. They laid down as soon as one thing went wrong last week against Baltimore. They didn't show up with the season on the line out in Arizona. And as soon as the Bengals tied up the game today, they laid down again and were down 2 scores in the blink of an eye. This team couldn't handle adversity at all this season. Anytime anything went wrong, the excuses came flying. The players blamed the media, blamed everything except looking in the mirror and saying, hey, this is on us. We got to be better. And then the last 3 weeks of the season especially, this team laid down. They quit. They sent a message loud and clear that they had no faith in Freddie Kitchens. How many players, if you listen, to local sports radio or national media or whatever it is, hey, we're going to ask this player about how do you feel about Freddie Kitchens? Not one person would answer the question straight. Not one vote of confidence and a bunch of no answers. That spoke loud and clear that he lost the locker room. Not one person would come out and say, hey, it's on us. Freddie's doing a great job. He's the guy to lead us to the promised land now and into the future. We think he's the answer. Not one person.
It's pretty funny, man. I mean, we're going to go aside from the whole Freddie talk for a second, but Joe Thomas just tweets. He retweets a tweet from Jordan Zerm. Zerm says, Browns had the leading rusher in the NFL, second, and 2 1,000-yard receivers and lost 10 times. Joe Thomas quote tweets it and says, wow, that's pretty remarkable. Basically the AFC version of the Dallas Cowboys.
Yeah, Freddie and Jason Garrett tomorrow will be hanging out somewhere. They can be building their own coaching staff together.
Do you think Garrett really gets fired?
I absolutely think Jason Garrett gets fired.
I think that it's the end of the line for him. Yeah, I do. But, I mean, that cat's not on his 9th life yet.
No, I mean, he hasn't gotten one vote of confidence from Jerry Jones either. I mean, usually Jerry Jones has been more supportive of Jason Garrett, and he hasn't done that at all this year. You come out 3-0, and then you fold the way they did in the, arguably the worst division in the NFL this season, and you don't make the playoffs. He'll be gone. Dak Prescott, Zeke, Amari Cooper, lots of big names on that defense playing in Jerry world. Jason Garrett ain't surviving.
Well, it better come out soon then, because the Browns have a leg up on them in the coaching search.
I think the Browns have a leg up anyway, because as long as Jerry Jones is going to stay general manager and have that much input, I think it'll be hard for any coach to succeed no matter how good they are. And regardless of the talent, which they are, they're an unbelievably talented roster. They're ready to win now, just like the Browns. But coaching, and don't tell me that coaching doesn't matter. Your Cleveland Browns, managed to win one more game this season than the least talented roster in the NFL, a team everybody said going into the year was tanking for Tua, the Miami Dolphins. They won 5 games with absolutely no talent. Ryan Fitzmagic running the show.
Picks magic.
Absolutely unbelievable. Ryan Fitzpatrick led that team in rushing. The quarterback, 37-year-old Ryan Fitzpatrick, led them in rushing. The Dolphins, who had no desire to win this season, went out and went 5-11. You won one more game than them with 1 million times more talent. Shout out to Brian Flores. Did a hell of a job coaching that team. But that just goes to show you coaching does make a difference.
They bring in the right quarterback in that situation. I mean, I don't see how you go away from Fitzpatrick next year.
He's a great bridge quarterback to whoever you draft.
I mean, funny stat that you read to me earlier. Ryan Fitzpatrick is the oldest player in NFL history to lead his team in both passing touchdowns or yards.
He is
passing yards,
rushing. He is the oldest
passing and rushing yards.
He's the oldest player ever. Just beat out Marcus Allen to lead his team in rushing and rushing touchdowns at 37 years young.
And
the quarterback.
The quarterback. They traded Kenyon Drake, and Kenyon Drake in his last whatever many games.
He looked great for Arizona,
dude. He's running David Johnson out of town.
Hey, shout out. Bring David Johnson here. He could be a 3rd running back.
Dude.
Put him in as a stable.
I mean,
I love David Johnson.
What do we do with Odell Beckham?
You keep him. You have him and Baker develop chemistry. You run it back. There's too much talent on this offense.
I agree.
Odell said it. I mean, I don't know if it's just him trying to get the media off the topic that he's going to be here. They're going to run it back. Next year will be an improvement. And absolutely, Baker, if this gets to you, please, no progressive commercials this summer. Please keep your head down. Work with your receivers. Hit the playbook. And get ready to go next year. You got too much talent. There's too much talent in you and around you for this offense to look like it did next year. You know, get together with the team, mini camps, OTAs, voluntary stuff on your own, and get ready to rock and roll, baby. Cleveland's got faith in you. I know it's been a long year, and, you know, everybody's been hard on you, myself included, the media, everybody, because, you know, it's been a regression. He's regressed. There's no doubt about it that he's regressed. But I think if you were to ask most people, especially with a change in coaching and a new offense and, you know, somebody else to mentor him, there's a lot of people that are going to say, hey, he's my guy. I still have faith in him. Rough year, but I'm not giving up on the guy.
I mean, he's thrown 50 TDs in his first 2 years to, what, 36 picks?
36 picks.
36 picks. So he's still plus 14 in that category. I mean, granted, you have to look at last year and look at this year and say it's a tale of two quarterbacks. But, I mean, he's still at 50 touchdowns in his first 2 years, man. And with the Browns, no less. The Browns.
Right, set rookie records, and then you get more talent. There was a regression, no doubt, but clearly you can see that the talent's there. It's just, you know, everybody's got to work. Baker's got to work. The offense has got to work together. You got to get a scheme that's going to work for him. You got to get a coach in here that can control things. I think, you know, Freddie let the team and Baker and all the guys get away with maybe a little bit too much to where they were too comfortable. And the results were there. I mean, we said it. I mean, how many people coming into the year picked the Browns to go 6-10? I can't think of many people that had them going under 500. There's some people that said 8-8, 9-7.
I don't even want to admit what I was telling people.
I said they'd go 12-4 this year.
I said 11-5, so you did worse than me. But
I said they would go 12-4. I was that confident in Baker coming off 27 touchdowns as a rookie that they would go 12-4, especially with the back half of the schedule. I didn't think they'd go 4-4 in those last 8 games. I figured they'd run off 7 out of 8, maybe win 8. I mean, I drank the Kool-Aid. I bought into the hype of Baker and Freddie and how good they looked the last 8 games of last year. Clearly, I was wrong. I'll admit it. I said 12-4, and you said 11-5. And this team with all that talent finishes 6-10, top 10 draft pick. Absolutely unacceptable.
at least the new coach coming in will have that to work with.
He's got all that talent and a top 10 draft pick.
Isaiah Simmons, you're already wearing orange, bro. Come wear the orange and brown.
If it works out to be him, I wouldn't complain, but I'd go offensive tackle. I mean, you got to address the offensive line.
Trent Williams?
I'm going to pass on Trent Williams.
You're going to pass on Trent.
Yeah, I'm not going to give up a first-round pick for Trent Williams.
Oh, no.
Maybe if the asking price comes down, you could convince me. But where the asking price was reported this year, I'll pass.
Oh, no. And if Bruce Allen isn't running the show there, like reports have suggested, maybe the asking price does come down because whoever that comes in there to run the team isn't fucking delusional. I don't even think that you're getting a second for Trent Williams at this point.
Hey, if the asking price is a third or a fourth-round pick, then absolutely I'll take a swing at it.
We've got 2/3.
I would take a swing at Trent Williams for that price. Absolutely.
Shout out Duke Johnson. Thank you for that pick. You did absolutely nothing in Houston.
Except play every week.
Except play every week, which you did here. So thanks, dude.
Thanks, Bill O'Brien, for that trade. Great job as coach/GM for giving us a third-round pick for Duke Johnson, a guy who's not even a top 25 running back in the league. Appreciate it.
Hey, but, I mean, we're also looking at this. We've talked a lot about the offensive side of the ball. Let me break down the defense for a second. I mean, the only real notable things that your defense did today, Mac Wilson, the rook, in the last game, 9 tackles. And I saw him get punked on a couple other ones.
Let's talk about getting punked. Let's talk about Sheldrick red wine. Oh, my.
Retire, bro. Retire.
Flattened like a pancake on that one run by Joe Mixon.
In the 2 games you played against Joe Mixon this year, you've allowed him to rush for almost 300 yards.
300 yards.
Against the rest of the league, he was only averaging 3.1 yards per carry.
And you made him look like the MVP twice.
And I know Joe Mixon's way better than 3.1 yards per carry, but there should be no reason that if anyone else, the other 14 games, no one lets him rush for more than a 3.1 yard average. I'm not saying that didn't happen once or twice before they played the Browns, but I'm saying on average 3.1 yards per carry, and you made him look like the best running back in the league.
Twice made him look like a top 5 running back. Both games he looked amazing.
And talent-wise,
against the Browns.
Talent-wise, he is. This is a 5-star kid. Went to Oklahoma. We know his story. We know at Oklahoma punches a chick out at Taco Bell. But hey, look, we're not going to talk about it.
Everybody gets a
It's
second
in the
chance.
past. Yeah, everybody gets a second chance.
And
Granted,
he
that
got-
looked pretty bad.
Yeah, I'm not saying that I would want to give him the second chance, but he got a second chance, with the Bengals, and he's been a solid player, but you've made him look unbelievable compared to how he's looked the rest of the year. The defense has underperformed. I mean, I understand, like we mentioned before, a lot of it has to do with the loss of Myles Garrett. You had 1 sack today. The pass rush has been non-existent since his suspension went into effect. But it's not just the pass rush. The linebacking core is subpar. Schobbert's play has dropped off. The secondary, Denzel's had a couple of interceptions here, had one today.
Both against the Bengals.
He's looked a little bit better. I know we talked about Greedy. Greedy's got to work on his tackling. Coverage-wise, he hasn't been bad. I know we mentioned the stats, and I saw one coming into this week that he hasn't given up a touchdown as a primary guy on some targets. He's had a good year in coverage, but he's got to get better at tackling. He really got to address that safety position.
Yeah, that's going to be an early one. Could go Grant Delpit.
Yeah, get out of LSU.
Um,
Yeah, and if the Browns don't want to go the Grant Delpit route, you could go Xavier McKinney, kid out of Alabama. Or you could stay in Ohio, take Shaun Wade if he comes into the draft, kid who could play corner or safety, played a big role in last night's game. His targeting call kind of swung the momentum, but any one of those
I don't know if I'd draft him after that. That was egregious. That was such a terrible play he made.
Yeah, any one of those 3 choices look really good on the Browns' back end. But in the top 10, all those options are on the board. The good thing, I guess, to come out of a disappointing season is the fact that you will get an immediate starter to help an already young, talented core. I think that will go, obviously, as disappointing as the season is, that'll go a long way to helping continue to build what is already a really talented roster.
Yeah, I tend to agree with you, but at the same time, we're talking fucking draft again in December. We're talking draft again in December with the team that has Odell Beckham, Baker Mayfield, Jarvis Landry, Nick Chubb, Kareem Hunt, Denzel Ward, Demarius Randall, Myles Garrett, Olivier Vernon,
Sucks.
Larry Ogunjobi, Sheldon Richardson,
So much
Joe
talent.
Schobert.
The show goes on 53, baby.
Kirko, I feel bad for you, bro, but at the same time,
Get on the field, Kirko. Seriously.
I mean, come on, man. You can't.
You
fault
can
the
feel
dude for having a
bad
torn
for him
pec.
all you want, but that's 2 years in a row. Dude, get on the field.
Yeah.
The best availability sometimes is availability. And where have you been? I kind of forgot Kirko was even a Brown still.
Hey, that's gonna be a cap casualty, I think.
I agree. I absolutely agree.
You too, Olivier Vernon.
Yeah, we could ship Olivier Vernon back for a bag
Hey.
of balls.
We'll keep Porter Gustin.
I could care less about Porter Gustin.
Brian Cox Jr., dude.
Junior. Look at that lineage. But anyway, in seriousness, it's such a talented roster that, yes, are there glaring holes at certain positions along the offensive line and in the secondary and at linebacker? Absolutely there is. Absolutely there is. But the core is there. Bring in the right head coach, somebody who can lead the team, tailor the offense to Baker Field, a la Jim Harbaugh and the Baltimore Ravens, get this thing turned around, and there's no excuse while next season at this time we're not talking about preparing for the playoffs. I mean, at absolute worst, this should be a wild card team next year. I mean, I expect Baltimore to be strong next year, but with the talent, you add to it, the right coach, there's no reason why when you and me are having this conversation 365 days from now, we should be talking about 10-6 minimum, not 6-10.
Oh my God.
They lost more games than last year.
That's why I have to collect myself, man. I have to collect my thoughts before I say anything because I'll just start going off the rails again, dude. It's so bad. It's so bad. How are we here? How?
We're more angry this year. I know you and me are, and I'm sure a lot of the people.
We
who are
went
listening-
from 7-8-1 with a way less talented team.
We were less upset about 0-16, 1-15. We expected it. There was no talent on that team.
Yeah.
No talent.
Well, I mean, and they were also coached by Hugh Jackson. Oh, who only Mike Silver would tell you was a great coach.
Shout out Hugh Jackson, wherever you are. Thank God not. on
Shout
the
out
field,
Mike
not on
Silver,
sidelines.
blocking me on Twitter.
He blocks everybody on Twitter. How dare you disagree with him?
Yeah, he's for sure right. I mean, him and Hugh Jackson, I love that date night picture, dude.
Hey, that's a beautiful picture.
I mean, at this point, can we really talk shit about Hugh Jackson?
I think we can. The guy won 3 games. 3, 36, and 1.
Hey,
3,
shouts out to Hugh Jackson.
36, and 1. I don't think anything's off the table when it comes to degrading the job he did as a head coach. That was the worst 40-game stretch you'll ever see. And that's a lot by Cleveland Browns standards.
Hey, hopefully this time, I guess I'll say next week because they're gonna have to move fast. The only way that they're not gonna be able to move fast is if the coach that they want is coaching a playoff team. So, I mean, if you think about that, who do you think that they would even want from one of the playoff teams as far as who they can get a coordinator?
I mean,
Josh McDaniels,
he's got the John Carroll Northeast Ohio connection.
Eric Bieniemy.
I like Eric Bieniemy a lot. He was a hot name last year.
So those are the 2 guys that are coaching playoff teams in some capacity that we'd have to wait on. But I mean, if you want Mike McCarthy, Ron Rivera, they're there.
I think those are going to be clearly the 2 hot names. I mean, experience.
Urban Meyer?
I mean, Herb's available. I mean, there's no reason why tonight you're not on the phone with all 3 of those guys coordinating interviews. Urban Meyer, Ron Rivera, Mike McCarthy.
I think that's coming soon. And if it's one of those 3, you got to move quick. It's got to be this week.
Right.
Maybe not this week, but early next week when you're done.
There's going to be a lot of coaches that are hired quick. I mean, Washington, Bill Callahan's, he's not staying. He's on an interim tag. Jason Garrett's going to get fired. Pat Shermer's going to get fired. I mean, Freddie Kitchens is already fired. I mean, that's at least, 4 openings. And,
You could
sure
be looking.
Marone's going to get fired in Jacksonville.
There've already been multiple reports that that's what's happening. Shad Khan came out and said that they have a meeting scheduled this week with the coaching staff, but that doesn't bode well. I mean, you could see Adam Gase lose his job, but with the way that they ended the season,
They finished 7-9.
does he lose his job?
Fired.
Yeah,
They probably have 8 winning record. Sam Darnold.
Although the way that Ryan Tannehill has looked for Tennessee, it makes Adam Gase look that much worse.
Right.
Tannehill since he took over looks like a top 12 quarterback.
I know we're normally people are hard on Adam Gase, but if Darnold doesn't miss those couple games with mono, they're probably at least 500. I mean, he got them back to 7-9, and that's not a very talented team.
That game that they played in week two, week two.
Week 2.
It was ugly. And who's to say that they couldn't have beat the Browns in that game?
Right, if Darnold's out there, it's a different story.
But still, fuck that guy. He looks like Butthead.
Hey, I mean, but hey, got that team, not a lot of talent. They fought. They got the 7 wins. I mean, Adam Gase, for all the flack he took in Miami, and he gets a bad rap. You hear a lot of bad about him, but hey, he coached that team to 7 wins. If I'm going to give Brian Flores credit for what he did, I got to give Adam Gase some credit. He did pretty good getting that team to 7 wins. So coaching is it's important. There's no doubt about it that coaching is important, which is why the decision that the Browns make in the next 72-ish hours, they got to move quick. You got to get your guy. And John Dorsey, you swung and missed with Freddie Kitchens. You better get this one right.
We'll see what happens. I think that it'll all come. The next 7 days are critical, very critical. And like I said, there's really only 2 guys that
faster than 7 days.
There's really only 2 guys that they'd have to wait on. And the way New England's been playing, they could have an early exit.
They could. They got to play on Wild Card Weekend. What's to say they don't get tripped up? Tom Brady's looked rough.
I mean, and the way Tennessee's been playing, man,
They just
that's no gimme.
They just gave up 27 points to the Dolphins today.
Hey, well, I'm tired of all this coaching talk. I'm tired of the Browns talk at this point. I mean, love them. Love them, love them. We'll always love them. But farewell, Freddie. I mean, you don't seem like a bad dude, but
Thanks for the wasted season, Freddie.
you had to go. You had to go,
You
bud.
do seem like a good guy, but thank you for wasting what was supposed to be the most promising season since the Browns came back in 1999.
And with that, I hope that Skyline Chili is still standing tomorrow. This is Matt signing off.
Hey, we'll talk to you guys again soon. If here in the next couple days, update on the Brown search. Get a little bit into the Cavs, 1-4 out of 5. The Fighting John Beelines. Hey, they could be turning a corner. But until then, if we don't talk to you before, have a happy new year. Go Browns. Let's get this coaching search right, and we'll talk to you guys soon.
Catch you on the flip side.
Go Browns.